Dear students, this course has actually two names. One is History of Scientific Discoveries. The other is Inspirational Life Lessons for Effective Living. This video lecture's intent is to show how are these two seemingly unconnected topics intertwined. Albert Einstein once said, there are two ways to live a life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. We will take examples of three scientists today and try to see what is the kind of impact they made on the world around, that how they lived life with a passion, and what kind of attitude they had as they went through the ups and downs of life. I am not perfect, and my life has its shares of ups and downs. I cannot define what effective living is in its truest sense, because I am also learning as I go through life's journey. But together, as a class, let us try to get a bigger picture. If I have to think of a man who has lived his life with passion, a life of focus, there is one man who stands out in the scientific community, Charles Darwin. Born in 1809, famous for his theory of evolution, for his book Origin of Species, and for his quote, Survival of the Fittest. He researched for 20 years before publishing his most monumental work on the origin of species. He won the Royal Medal, the Wollaston and the Copley Medal, but interestingly, he got his first medal only when he was 44 years old. The delay is not because of his lack of ability, but his innate desire to be very thorough. He knew what he was proposing will face a lot of resistance. So let us understand the kind of work he put behind his research. He went on a 5-year-long voyage on HMS Beagle in 1831 at the age of 22. As the map shows, his route took him to right around the globe, taking a trip around South America via New Zealand and Australia. This is an artistic impression of HMS Beagle, a sailing ship to go around the world. He made a thorough study of the finches and their beaks and the disparity on the different islands of Galapagos. He collected a lot of specimens of beetles. In fact, he collected so many things on this voyage that sifting through that and documenting his findings itself took some years. He conceived his theory of natural selection in 1838, but worked on it and finally published it in 1858. His book, Descent of Man, was published in 1871, which examined human evolution. Darwin was a devoted father. His 3 kids went on to be fellows of Royal Society, one as an astronomer, one as a botanist, and one as a civil engineer. Now coming to the second scientist. If there is one mathematician, physicist, every student would be knowing is Sir Isaac Newton. He had a wide outreach, from the laws of motion to gravitation, from prisms to telescopes, inventing calculus to his work in binomial series, working against forgery in the Royal Mint to being an alchemist. Born in 1642 on Christmas Day, born 3 months after the death of his father and raised by his maternal grandmother. He studied Latin in a school from the age of 12 to 17, and interestingly, his school did not teach him any mathematics. He later studied at Trinity College, Cambridge, and studied by paying his way by performing valet services. After BA, his college was closed down due to the Great Plague. And what does Newton do? Sit back, watch TV, play football with his friends, post comments on Facebook? His private studies at his home in Woolsthorpe over the subsequent 2 years saw the development of his theories on calculus, optics, and the laws of gravitation. Though not very fair to compare, but who was more successful, Darwin or Newton? Charles Darwin lived to be 72 years and Isaac Newton 84 years. One has a theory and the other has laws against his name. One married and the other did not. Money wise, Darwin and Newton did fairly well, but could not be said to be very rich. Newton did not earn money for all the laws he discovered. Darwin had to work for 5 years for his journey across the globe. One had many friends and the other antagonized many. You may have heard of the Leibniz-Newton controversy as to who invented calculus. Today we believe that both had invented it independently, and though Newton had done it before, he had not published his work. But Newton carried a lot of bitterness through his life. There is an interesting story. Once Edmund Halley, the man after whom Halley's comet is named, was contemplating if the planet's path around the sun is a circle or not. When he visited Newton, he mentioned this problem. Newton, a genius that he was, said, the path is an ellipse and I have done this calculation. But Newton could not locate the paper on his study. Halley was surprised and asked, what else is there that you have not told the world about? That is when Newton decided to complete his book called the Principia. This book is considered a classic in the scientific circles. Even the publication of Principia was thanks to Edmund Halley, who agreed to publish it at his expense as the Royal Society was out of funds. But one thing is common in both these scientists. When they died, both got due respect and were buried in the Westminster Abbey in London with full state honours. Before we talk about the legacy these two scientists left behind, it's important to talk about a third very impactful scientist, Thomas Midgley Jr. Born in 1889, educated to be an engineer, but chose the path of a scientist. He won many medals and he made a lot of money. He had more than 100 patents to his name. He was lauded for his scientific contributions during his lifetime. He held 2 honorary degrees, elected to the United States National Academy of Sciences, and president and chairman of the American Chemical Society. He invented tetraethyl lead, which was used as an anti-knocking agent in automobiles. After some years, it was noticed that lead was not good for health and lead pollution had gone up drastically, impacting environment in a very big way. Thomas Midgley refused to accept it and went on TV to show that tetraethyl lead was not at all dangerous. Later, he invented chlorofluorocarbons, which is used in refrigeration in a very big way. Again a commercial success. But as most of you must surely be knowing, that CFC made a small hole in the ozone layer, which allowed harmful rays to penetrate the Earth's ozone shield and increase rate of skin cancer, global warming, etc. J.R. McNeill once said about Thomas Midgley that he made more impact on environment than any other single organism in Earth's history. What constitutes a life well lived? Is it the money we accumulate, the places we visit, the positions we hold, the accolades we win, the friends on Facebook, the success of our relationship, or the legacy we leave behind? If you look at the life of these 3 scientists, we can see all 3 lived with passion, were dedicated, managed time well, creative and out-of-box thinkers, and more importantly, they all were doers. But the awards they won and the money they made was very different. Did they all live happy lives? How well did their relationships go? What is the legacy they left behind? Were they respected in their social and professional network? I request you all to go through Wikipedia link of these 3 scientists and evaluate them on these different parameters. As an assignment, I would also like you all to study one of the elders in your family whom you look up to, maybe your parents or grandparents, maybe an uncle, an aunt, a cousin. They have to be 50 plus. You should interview them before you write a 1000 to 1500 word blog on them. Ask them, what is their definition of success? What is the happiest moment of their lives? Their favorite quote? Chances are you will be inspired. Chances are it may change your life forever. You can read the article I have blogged on my dad and one on my cousin. You can also read some of the interesting articles written by some of the students of the previous batch of this course. Seychelles Page once said, "Work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, and dance like nobody is watching." I wish all of us are able to live life to the fullest. Thank you.